I will be telling you guys how to slow time down today. And obviously, I cannot tell you how to stop time, but I believe I will be able to give you some tips and tricks, let's say, to make time go slower and make time almost stand still at moments and be able to look back and not just have, one, not just look back on the last month and be like, I don't even remember what I just did, you know? So without further ado, let's get into it. I believe that a key way to slow time down is to partake in new experiences. And what I mean by that is, change the scenery, change what you're doing. Don't be so consistent. Now, consistency is key in, say building a business or pursuing a passion. You need to have some consistency, say if you want to progress in the gym or if you're trying to, build a business. But in the matter of slowing time down, consistency can speed time up immensely. And I believe this is the case because when you are going through your day-to-day life and you're doing the same things at the same time in the same places, the days just start to bleed in together. Say throughout the week you did the same thing every single day at the same exact time. It's going to be hard to distinguish on Sunday Monday from Tuesday. There'll be little random events that, you saw someone you knew at the grocery store or at the gym, and, you can kind of pinpoint it out like that. But other than that, you won't be able to distinguish it that much. And then, you know, the end of the month will come and your last, that week was just like the next 3 weeks, and the month will fly by. You'll have no idea where the time went. You'll have no idea what you did, really. You'll think that it just flew by. And I think a way to do that is, when you have consistency, I think is great. But let's say every morning you go for a morning walk. Don't walk the same way every day. Don't walk the same trail at the same time, or the same path. Switch it up once in a while. Go a different way. Go to a different spot. Drive 5-10 minutes and then go for a walk. Someplace you normally don't go. And then say you go to the gym after that. Go to a different gym. Go try a different workout. Do some workouts you never did before. Try something new. And say you're driving to work. Take a different route. Obviously, you don't want to do like an hour detour unless you want to, but just change it up a little bit. You don't want to always take the same route. You don't want to always do the same things. You want to switch it up. Consistency is great, but consistency will make time fly, I believe. And as with everything, there's a balance to this because you want to progress, in the gym. And I believe to progress in the gym, it's hard if you're going to a different gym every single day and doing different workouts every single day because you're not really mastering anything. You're not really mastering a workout because, the first time you do a workout, your form's not going to be perfect and your body's not used to it. So the weights, you're going to have to go lighter on weight. But if you stick with it for a while, the weights will go up and your form will get better and the workout will feel much better. But then you do that same workout for 2 months and your muscles get used to it. You need to switch it up. And your brain gets used to it too. And then every workout just starts bleeding into another. And this makes time go by so fast. This makes time race by. I heard it um, like in another example is like, I feel like as I've been getting older, time has been going by so much faster. And I was thinking about it the other day. And when you were a kid and in school, there was so much new. You were experiencing new things all the time. You know, you were everything was fresh and new. Different school every or different teachers every year, or even every quarter or semester, however your school did it. Summer would come. Summer camp. All these new fresh experiences, sports. Versing different teams, having different teammates. Everything was just so fresh and new, and you were experiencing so many things for the first time and re-experiencing things, but in different settings and in different areas. So everything was fresh and new, and it felt like school was forever. You know, every day you were learning something different. You know, every day it was a different assignment, a different task. You know, you were in the same place, but there was a lot of things outside of your control that would change. And then as you got older, you know, things started becoming more, you know, concrete, and there was less change. There was less new experiences. You know, you kind of felt like you saw it all already. And then before you know it, you're in high school. And then before you know it, you're a senior. And then before you know it, you're either, you know, off to college or you're into the workforce. And if you go off to work, you know, this is where time can start to fly by, because when you start to work, you know, you lose a lot of your free time, and it gets harder to get out and experience new things and do new things. And 40 hours a week, you're at the same exact place doing basically not always the same thing, but similar things typically. So when you're doing these things the same, you know, like people say, you know, like same crap, different day, you know, like it's it's makes time fly by when it's like that, because you have nothing to break up the months or the years. You know, a year ago I was in the same place doing the same thing at the same time. You know, it's hard to break up the experiences. And you know, when you don't take a day to go explore, or you know, take each day to take the opportunity to change things up. You know, I'm not a big advocate of going out to eat because it's expensive and it's not healthy, you know, as healthy as making your own food. But you know, once a week, if you slate out some time frame to go out to eat, it can be beneficial because you'll change up the scenery, you'll change up the setting, and this also is important with building relationships. Because if you have a relationship with somebody and every time you guys see each other, you're at the same place, the same day, at the same time, you know, those experiences are going to start to bleed into each other, and you're going to get bored, and you know, you're going to want some newness. And sometimes all it takes is just a little change of scenery, you know, and like going to do an activity, going for a hike, going out to eat, going to an escape room, going to, you know, do an activity, do something. I would recommend you do an activity instead of go out to eat. But if that's, you know, all you can muster up to do, it's better than just sitting inside for the seventh day in a row when the next 5 days, you know, you're going to be at work. So you're not going to really have the opportunity to go explore or go adventure. And then if you go off to college, you know, you prolong this a little bit because you're still, you know, you're going to probably get new friends and new classes, new experiences. You know, college is something that's not like high school, and the fact of like dorming and things of that nature. So for a while, time will go slow. And once you get into your later years of college, though, you feel like you've seen everything. You know, you have your friends, you have your things you like to do in the area, and then time will start to speed up again. So you have to be cognitive of this, and realize that you need to go out of your way to make new experiences, go out of your way to do new things. Because if you don't, then time will just start to bleed into each other. You know, this month will bleed into last month, and then that month will bleed into that month. And then before you know it, a year went by, and you know, you were working, you know, you were doing stuff, but you can't really distinguish, you know, say August from July. You know, you don't really, you know, you did some things there and some things here, but you can't really remember it. But say if you know, go on some trips, and they don't have to be like crazy expensive trips. You know, you can just drive a couple hours and go do a hike, or go see a city you've never seen before, you know, and you can distinguish those. You're like, oh yeah, 2 weekends ago we went to New York, and then 2 weeks before that we went to Canada, and then 2 weeks before that we went to Florida. You know what I mean? And these don't need to be crazy experiences. You know what I mean? They don't need to be bank breaking experiences. They can just be day trips, you know, depending on where you live. Obviously, if a day trip is not to Canada for you, then you have to make a new place to go. But you need to find places in the area to switch it up, experience new things, go do new things, because this will help slow time down, and it'll help you remember things better too. If you've ever seen the movie Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams is the teacher in that movie, and every class is in a different setting. He never teaches the class in the same setting twice. The only place is the classroom, but he always gets them outside of the classroom to teach the real lesson. And when you do that, you cement those things in their head. As you're walking by the corridor that your teacher taught a lesson in, you remember that. As you walk outside by the tree that you all sat around learning a lesson, you remember that. As you walk by the field that you learned a lesson in, you remember the lesson. But when you walk by your classroom that you had 100 straight classes in, everything just bleeds together. And this makes time go extremely fast. And it's extremely sad to look back on a life, years, like a year ago on your life and not really be able to distinguish anything. And another thing that speeds time up is being ashamed of the past. If you partake in activities that you are ashamed of and you have no discipline to stop yourself, you don't want to look on the past. You don't want to look back there because you're ashamed. You don't want to think about that stuff, so you tend to not to think about it. And then things you don't think about, you tend to forget. And then there's just this huge block of time in your life that you don't really even remember because of the activities you were partaking in at that certain time. So this is another thing that will speed time up is, regretting the past. You should look upon the past, fondly. You should be proud of, the progress you made, but also the person you were back then. You should be proud. You shouldn't not want to look back on the past. And you shouldn't want to live in the past either because it's gone. You should want to live in the present and be building yourself up for a good future. But you also don't want to have time be such a thing you don't want to look back on. Because if that's the case, then time is going to go by really fast. And, Seneca says an old age, a lot of people in old age only have their age and their gray hair to prove that they are old, but they really haven't done anything. And I'm not saying that you need to travel the world to have a fulfilled life, but you do need to accomplish something. You do need to put in hard work. You do need to switch up things and not be so consistent. But I mean, I say that sparingly because a man like Immanuel Kant was super consistent and he had a very successful life and he was one of the greatest philosophers of our time. And he did that through a lot of, daily habits in the same places, at the same time, in the same lifestyle. A lot of neighbors said that they could set their clocks based on Kant's, daily routines. He goes and walks at 8 o'clock. You see Emmanuel walking at 8. It's 8 o'clock. You don't even have to look at the clock because he was so to the point and so consistent in that. And there's brilliance and respect for that. But at the same time, I can only imagine how the days bled into each other for him. How every day felt the same, giving a lecture at the same school every single day, going out to eat with the same friend every single day, same restaurant, it just, to me, it's miraculous and it's discipline and it's a man who truly wanted to give his best to life. But I'm almost selfish in saying that you can't be that consistent or life is just going to bleed into it and you're going to be on your deathbed. And unless you're an intellectual like Immanuel Kant and, practice philosophy to such an extreme that you made immense progress in philosophy, you're not going to have a lot to look back on and be proud of. And, I think that's very, very important to be able to look back and value life and value the things you've been through and look on experiences fondly and be able to distinguish them. That's the biggest thing I believe, to be able to distinguish experiences. If you can remember things you did for the first time, you remember them and you remember the people you were with and you remember the person you were and you remember some of the lessons and the thoughts you had. But if you keep going back to that same place, they're all going to bleed in together. And the days and the months will start to slip by. So I think you need to be actively conscious of this and try to experience new things, because intensity and new experiences form memories. Think of intense moments in your life. You can remember those distinctly because they were intense. They were intense moments and new experiences and new places. Those things stick. And any lesson you learn in areas like that, they stick because they don't blend in with anything else. If you went to Rome once and you learned, say you learned all this stuff or you met these people or, whatever it may be, you remember that. You remember that because it was an intense new experience that you've never done before and you haven't done since. There's only one trip to look back upon. But if you go to Rome every single, you know, every single 4 months, you take a week or two off and go to Rome and you go to the same places and you do the same things and you eat at the same spots and you visit the same people, the trips start to blend into each other. And before long, you've been to Rome 100 times, but it feels like you've only been 10 because every single time you've done the same thing. You haven't experienced anything new. So, be understanding of this and be intentional in changing things up. And I understand, like at my point in my life, I'm trying to build a future and I'm trying to figure out my purpose and my passions and discover my true goals in life. So I believe I can't just, take, a year off of work and life and just go travel and see new places every single day. I would love to do that, but I think a part of me is running away if I do that. And I don't want to run away from myself because I know if I run away from myself, I'll still be there. You can't run away from yourself because yourself is always accompanied by yourself. So that's not what I want to do. But to be able to pursue goals and purpose and passion, but every single day, every week or two, or every single day or two, every week or two, be able to go experience something and be able to go do something new can help slow time down and reel you back in. And then once you get back to your work, you can be more focused and more relaxed instead of yearning to be somewhere during your work. And this is something I struggle with because, like I said, I don't want to feel like I'm running away from life. But at the same time just goes by so fast if you stay so consistent. And looking back, you just don't really feel like you did anything. And you weren't lazy, but you almost feel like you were lazy because time just went by so fast. Because time just does go by fast. Like at the end of the day, time just goes by fast. The work week goes by fast and then the weekend goes by fast. They both go by fast. And the weeks go by fast, so that means the months go by fast. And if the months go by fast, then the years go by fast. And if the years go by fast, the decades go by fast. And if the decades go by fast, your life goes by fast. So be intentional and make sure you're not just merging memory with memory with memory with memory because nothing sticks in the brain like this either. Try to go read a book in a spot you never read before. And then you'll walk by that spot one day and you'll remember the lessons you learned that day. But if you read in the same room every single day, then you can't distinguish book from book. You can't distinguish lesson from lesson. They kind of all merge and bleed into each other. And the brain takes in nothing deeply when it's not fully concentrated. So yeah, I hope y'all got something from this video, and I hope y'all be intentional with changing your experiences and changing the intensity of situations so that you remember them more.